how does the initial, I guess, McDonald's happen? Like, how does Dad develop that? I mean, does McDonald's just come knocking one day? Like, how does that happen?
He was actually on a cold call. He used to put this pie that he was working on, because he had the vision that at some point when people came back from the war, when it was in the 40s and 50s, when he was growing up with his mother teaching him how to do stuff, everything was baked in a round pan. Yeah. And he was seeing all these people coming back and going to eat in the car. And so he kept saying, to his mom, if we don't have something they can eat in the car, we're going to be done here. So she thought he was crazy. So he went off, to Tulsa, Oklahoma from Dallas, Texas, and built this line to make these little pillow pies. And he would take them around because he was so convinced that this was going to be a deal that he drove everywhere in his caddy. Every week he stocked it up on Monday morning, pies in a cooler in the back in the trunk, 4 or 5 coolers, shut the trunk, off he'd go. We wouldn't see him till Friday, and he'd have orders in his hands. He'd have things that were going on. And so one day he called on Ray Kroc just as a cold call. Yeah. He knocked on the door of the McDonald's, Des Plaines, Illinois, and the guy answered the door.
Wow.
Like, what can I help you with?
Yeah.
And it was Ray Kroc.
God. Talk about putting in your hours, right? Talk about hard work and just, what is Gary Player's favorite quote, right? That the more you practice, the luckier you get. It's a game of numbers.
It's totally numbers.
And that
totally numbers.
Then you build that relationship, and from there the orders continue and get bigger, and then they, like I said, back to trust. They trust you more, and then the production numbers just increase.
Yes, it builds on itself. And my dad, by that time my dad had met a lot of guys doing restaurants. He'd met a lot of guys like Ray who said they were going to do what Ray did. He met the guy who, started that big boy restaurant, the guy with the, the crazy burger on his hand. He's got the plate. I don't know. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's like something called Bill's Big Burger. And he's got this big, and he was going to put those all over America. Those guys with the red suits on with the plate holding the hamburger. And my dad would come home and he's just like, I don't know. That guy just doesn't seem like he's got it all together. And then he'd go work with another one, and then he'd go work with another one. And so when he met Ray, I think the combination of what he saw in Ray and his dogged determination, and my dad saw that in Ray. Yeah. And my dad had that too. My dad was like, if he was nothing else, he was doggedly determined. Yeah. And so I think when he met him, he decided to throw it all. And him and my mom got in more debt than they'd ever gotten into, putting in their first pie line and building the capacity, to fill all these restaurants that he said he was going to build. And then he started building them. Yeah. Because when my dad started with him, there was 5 or 6 restaurants. That was it.